Okay, so let's dive into one of American drama's most haunted and tragic figures, Mary Tyrone, from Eugene O'Neill's masterpiece, Long Day's Journey into Night. Today, we're going to unpack the crisis of a woman who is completely caught between the life she dreamed of and the one she was forced to live. We're going to explore the real roots of her tragedy, from her morphine addiction to this profound loss of self. But this is so much more than just a story about addiction. It's a really deep look at how an identity can just be worn away by regret and that desperate, very human need to get back to a past that's gone forever. So to really get a handle on Mary, we've got to start with what we see right now, in the play's present moment. O'Neill gives us a character who is, literally unraveling right before our eyes, both physically and psychologically. The first thing you notice about Mary, it's this nervous energy. Her hands are always fluttering, she's obsessively fixing her hair, and her fingers are all gnarled from rheumatism. Now, these aren't just little quirks, they're the flashing warning signs of a deep internal chaos, a body that's betraying a mind at war with itself. And here's where it all clicks together. Those nervous habits, they are the physical proof of her desperate need to escape a world she just can't stand. When you're faced with a shabby home, a stingy husband, and nonstop family tension, your body is literally trying to run away from what your mind can't. So where does all this anxiety come from? Well, it's being fed directly by the ghosts of her past. See, Mary isn't just unhappy with who she is now. She is absolutely haunted by the woman she thinks she could have been. Think about it. Before she met James Tyrone, Mary had these two incredible, totally different paths she could have taken. She could have been a concert pianist, a life filled with art and expression, or she could have become a nun, a life of spiritual purity and real purpose. Both of those options look a whole lot better than the messy, disappointing reality she's stuck in now. And this obsession she has with her hands and hair? It's not just vanity, not at all. It's a constant, painful kick in the gut, reminding her of the talented and beautiful young woman she feels she lost. Every single time she looks at her gnarled hands, she sees the ghost of her dream to be a pianist. So why'd she give it all up? Simple. She fell head over heels for James Tyrone, this charismatic, famous actor. He represented a whole different kind of dream, one filled with romance and excitement. And as she says herself, in that moment, that was all she wanted. Okay, so how does this beautiful love story curdle into a nightmare of morphine addiction? The way it started is just tragic, and for her family, it's this source of deep, unending blame and resentment. And that's what's so brutal. It wasn't just one bad decision. It was this awful chain of events that trapped her. The pain from Edmund's birth was very real, but it was James's famous cheapness, his refusal to hire a decent doctor, that led directly to the morphine. The cure ended up becoming the curse. Now, this is absolutely crucial to understanding her. The addiction isn't just physical. It's her primary psychological weapon for survival. She uses morphine to force a state of regression, and that's a key idea for her character. So with the morphine, she's essentially using it as a time machine. She doesn't just remember her youth. She's desperately trying to relive it, to get back to that state of innocence before her marriage soured and before she had to face the terror of her son's illness. And the setting of the play? Oh, it just nails this theme. The fog that rolls in and surrounds the house isn't just weather. It's a powerful symbol of the family's inability to see anything clearly, especially each other. For Mary, that fog is a comfort, like a warm blanket that hides the sharp edges of reality, just like the drug does. So you take all of this, her lost dreams, her husband's failures, her addiction, and it all leads to one devastating place. A complete crisis of agency. Mary is trapped. She's completely unable to act in her own best interest. She's caught in this impossible web. On one hand, you've got all this external stuff pushing on her. James's cheapness, the awful doctor, and the endless cycle of blame in her family. And on the other hand, you have her own internal chaos, crippling guilt, her unfulfilled dreams, and this bottomless yearning for a past she can never get back. But what's really heartbreaking is that in those rare moments when the fog clears, she is brutally honest with herself. She knows her escape into the past is a lie. This quote just rips open her deep Catholic guilt, her awareness that she can't really hide from judgment, especially her own. And this brings us to the big question, the one that sits at the heart of the whole play. Is Mary a victim of her circumstances, or is she the one who really sets off her family's tragedy?
O'Neill is brilliant here. He never gives us an easy answer. He just forces us to sit with the question. And the image O'Neill leaves us with at the end is just haunting. After pushing everyone away, she's left totally alone in this state that she seems to both crave and hate, completely lost in her own drug-fueled memories. And that final line she says, wow, it just lays bare the whole paradox of her life. She uses her addiction to build a wall to protect herself from the pain her family causes. But in the end, she just creates an even bigger pain for herself, absolute crushing loneliness. Ultimately, Mary's story is the perfect, tragic example of what defines the entire Tyrone family. When the past is left to fester, it doesn't just haunt the present, it becomes the future. For the Tyrones, memory isn't a comfort, it's a cage, and there is no escape.